Welcome to the COVID Attestation Team's personal app introduction and use case. For the past year, our amygdala has been working overtime in fight or flight mode as we learned how to protect ourselves from COVID-19. Many of us learned how to work remotely for the first time and how to balance at-home schooling with work responsibilities. As we prepare to return to work, we are asked once again to learn how to adapt to new processes. While there might be feelings of relief to return to in-person dynamics, we're also filled with mixed emotions as what was previously deemed unsafe becomes the norm once again. So how can we best support our colleagues returning to the office? One of the biggest hurdles for organizations is tracking who is in the office, COVID symptoms, and contact tracing when someone does become ill. The COVID Attestation Team's personal app supports self-attestation, office check-in, and contact tracing to ensure the safety of our colleagues as we return to normal. The COVID Attestation Team's personal app can also be extended to meet your specific business needs. This past year, many organizations invested in Microsoft Teams as a place to collaborate virtually. Now that the organization is starting their days in Teams, it is a natural place to add new capabilities to support the workforce. Bringing COVID self-attestation to your colleagues where they are already working removes the need to learn yet another place to go for a new process. It reduces the friction for your colleagues to complete the attestation by being front and center. Every time we switch from one application to another, there are possibilities for interruption, distraction, or errors. Surfacing the COVID self-attestation as a Teams personal app removes the need to navigate multiple applications to complete important tasks. Read updates from your team, see your calendar for the day, and check into the office, all from one place. Task switching increases stress for your colleagues in an already stressful time. Making this an intuitive, smooth process will improve the employee experience for those returning to the office. Your receptionists or office managers are also taking on new responsibilities in addition to their already full workloads. Ensuring the entire office and guests check in safely is a huge responsibility for keeping everyone safe. Providing a system to support self-attestation before arriving in the office reduces the workload for your front desk to check in each person and gather that critical information about their current health. This streamlines the process to be a matter of seconds for check-in versus a 5-minute conversation covering all questions and symptoms. Having one place for self-attestation as an employee as well as to check guests centralizes information for every person who's in the office. When a colleague is diagnosed with COVID, identifying the potential impact to the office is critical. With the COVID Attestation app, you can easily identify who is in the office at the same time. This gives you the ability to quickly communicate with anyone who is potentially impacted and provide an audit trail. Let's take a look at the full process. As an employee, I have the ability to self-check-in and fill out the self-attestation form. My organization can add questions specific to our locations. I can choose which office I am going into, answer the questions around my current symptoms, and select Save before I'm even headed into the office. I'll get a pop-up notification that my check-in was submitted successfully, and that's all I need to complete for that day to go into the office. Now let's take a look at what it's like for the front desk check-in experience. As a front desk employee, I can see the list of all colleagues who have filled out the self-attestation for the day. Here I can see that Emily Mancini was already checked in, but now that Elizabeth Bennett has arrived to the office, I do need to check them in. I can navigate over to the right check mark, select this, and see all of their answers to the self-attestation. I can see that Elizabeth is checking into our Boston office, does not have a fever, and has no other symptoms, so I can check her in safely. I can now see both employees who have checked into these separate offices. Now, I might also have a guest coming into the office for the day, and I can choose to register a guest. First, I'm prompted with their name. I again want to select which office they're going to and fill out all of the questions as for the symptoms that they are experiencing and select Save. When I register a guest, I do not need to go and check them in. That is automatically done in one step. So I can now welcome Julie Turner into our Boston office. Now that we have seen the self-check-in and front desk check-in experience, let's explore our administration options. One of the first steps you'll want to take as an administrator setting up the COVID app is managing your office locations. Here I can navigate to the Administration tab and then select Manage Locations. I can select the New button to add in an office, and then select Save. This will now appear in my office's dropdown. The next important step for setting up the COVID admin app is to manage the questions for the self-attestation form. Here, if I select Manage Questions, I can select New and enter in the title of my question. Are you experiencing any chills? I could provide a tooltip text for more information around this question to help inform my employees. And I have two choices of a question type. It can be a yes/no Boolean, or it can be free text. Next, I select the order that I want these questions to appear in, and I can choose whether this question is enabled. Once all settings are complete, I can select Save, close out my modal box, and if I refresh my Teams application and navigate over to Register Guest, I will be able to see the update I have on my form. Are you experiencing any chills? One of the most important parts of the COVID admin app is contact tracing. If one of your employees does experience symptoms, you have the ability to click to the Contact Tracing tab and identify who was in the office at the same time as this person. The person we're going to look up is Charles Bingley. He called us today and let us know that he was experiencing COVID symptoms over the weekend and tested positive today. I have my start date selected as the 12th and my end date as the 26th. I can also reduce by office location and person. Once I select Search, I see my results below, and I can see that Charles Bingley was in the same office as Elizabeth Bennett in Boston on the 23rd. So I should reach out to Elizabeth Bennett to make sure that she's aware that Charles Bingley has been tested positive for COVID, and so she can take the necessary precautions. The COVID Attestation Teams Personal app supports a safe and streamlined return to the office right where your users are already working in Microsoft Teams. We hope this app reduces stress as we work together to safely return to normal.